at even ere the sun was set. The sickle roared around thee lay. Oh, in what divers pains they met, oh, with what joy they went away. Those words were written by Henry Twells, who was vicar for 17 years of this church here in Leicestershire, St Mary Magdalene, Waltham on the Wolds. And thankfully the hymn book they use today still has his hymn in it, because it would be a bit awful if it didn't. I've got a volume of his sermons at home, appropriately sermons on hymns. Once more, he goes on, 'tis eventide, and we, oppressed with various ills, draw near. What if thy form we cannot see? We know and feel that thou art here. O Saviour Christ, our woes dispel. For some are sick and some are sad, and some have never loved thee well, and some have lost the love they had. And some have found the world is vain, yet from the world they break not free. And some have friends who give them pain, yet have not sought a friend in thee. And none, O Lord, has perfect rest, for none is wholly free from sin. And they who fain would serve thee best are conscious most of a wrong within. O Christ, thou hast been human too. Thou hast been troubled, tempted, tried. Thy kind but searching glance can view the very wounds that shame would hide. Thy touch has still its ancient power. No word from thee can fruitless fall. Here in this solemn evening hour, and in thy mercy, heal us all. Henry Twells was just an ordinary Anglican clergyman, died in 1900, and it's here that he wrote that hymn. And although the church has been much altered, the pulpit that he preached from is still here. The building is 13th century, altered and enlarged in the 15th, and restored, of course, by the Victorians with their usual gusto, and reordered in the 21st century to meet 21st century ideas of worship and needs for the building as a multi-purpose space, much as it would have been, of course, in the 13th century. So let's have a look around, shall we? We start as usual at the West End, and much has changed since the days of Henry Twells. Notably, the heavy Victorian pews he would have known have gone, replaced with these rather light and, to my eyes, excessively light chairs, and not very many of them, suggesting, of course, one of the great issues with modern congregations. They're not very big, particularly country churches like this. And it's a small town in, as the name suggests, the Wolds. Looking up, we find a 15th century roof with, I suspect those were angels. They have lost their wings, sadly. Chandeliers that appear to be Georgian. The font, which is medieval, possibly older than the church, definitely the oldest thing in the church, now sits in the north aisle. It's good to see there's still an organ here because, again, the Henry Twells connection. You will see there's a kitchen at the back, and some of the stained glass windows are now in the kitchen, and there is, of course, a low. So the kitchen, of course, is locked because of food hygiene regulations. Here we have Zechariah. That is Zechariah, of course, of John the Baptist's father, and Elizabeth, John the Baptist's mother. Not the prophet, Zechariah. Here we have the font, which is Norman. You see the designs on it, very good, and of course Henry Twells would have known it well. Henry Twells' pulpit is Victorian, wasn't made for him, but of course he used it, and you can see here we have these texts over the arches. Fear not, for I have redeemed thee, I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. I have loved the habitation of thy house, and the place where thine honour dwelleth, and so on. And we have the commandments here over the chancel arch. Organ, not obvious who made it. Obviously, it's the more modern one than Henry Twells from that case. But pulpit, stone, you can see we have this alabaster bookrest with an alabaster angel on it. And then on the cruciform church, and here we have under the crossing there is a single bell there. I suspect there are more bells higher up. There is, as you can see, a staircase goes up there, and the tower's relatively tall. The transepts aren't used. Not surprisingly, well, obviously this one is used by the Sunday school, I expect, the children's area, which is great. It's good to have a place for them to do things. And the chancel, still very Victorian, just as Henry Twells would have known it. You can picture the choir here singing on an evening, maybe a summer evening, like today will turn into maybe a winter evening at even air. The sun was set, and the reredos, this do in remembrance of me. Last Supper images, mosaics or paintings are always difficult because, of course, there is a fourth wall, as it were, that we occupy. So what do you do with the table? Well, here at least we have four of the apostles sitting on this side of the table. It's interesting that all of them have halos, because there do appear to be 12 apostles. Just to do a recount. 3, 6, 3, yeah, there are 12 apostles, so one of them is Judas. And I don't think it's appropriate for certainly the medieval artists would never put Judas with a halo, because of course he's the son of perdition. But there we are. Victorians. We have a nice set of sedilia there, 3 sedilia, and you can see in there the piscina. Stained glass windows, many of them are connected with the Victorian clergy. And it's given the connection of this church with a Victorian hymn, because of course Twells dies in 1900, therefore all he did was Victorian. Then having this nice Victorian chancel helps to feel the sort of the circumstance in which it would have been sung and which he would have worshipped. But of course the 13th century is when this building begins, and it's still in use now in the 21st century, and you can't fix it in any one of these periods. One of the great mistakes is to think that we can. Church buildings live. They are the home of the living church. Beloved, now are we the sons of God. It doth not yet appear what we shall be. That painting of texts on the walls is something that is beloved of Victorian evangelicals. J.C. Ryle did it too. You will notice here that we do have some leaning columns, because, of course we do, because this is a medieval building. They settled a bit, and as long as the settling wasn't too spectacular, that's all right. So that's the inside here. This is before that, though. This is the double-decker, and we got a dove there for the Holy Spirit, and there is a date on it. So so the date is 1805. So sorry, no, 1835. Sorry. Get my Roman numerals correct. But there we are. And we've got there a picture of the king. A lot of churches have them these days. They seem to have been sent out to those who wanted them. And there is the one modern stained glass window here, relating again to Leicestershire and all of its, and the Wolds and all their glory. So let's have a look at the outside, shall we? So here we are outside at Waltham on the Wolds. It's a big building, it's not a huge churchyard, it's difficult to get the whole thing in, and yes, I'm in shadow because there's a yew tree above me. But you can see here, proper cruciform, nice transept with its gable there, tower, there's a spire above that, there's the nave with its clerestory, and of course the chancel without. The chancel here is as tall as the nave, as we saw inside. It's not like Croxton Kerrial, where you've got a lower chancel. This is a bigger building. This is a little town, not a village. So let's have a look around the outside and again admire this amazing 13th century building with later alterations. So here we go. We have first of all here the nave and a clerestory, and of course the aisles coming out from the nave. The clerestory does its job, as the name suggests. It's there to light in. There is the chancel with these big tall perpendicular windows, and here the spire goes on up into the sky, pointing upwards, saying to the worshippers, the people indeed lift up your hearts, and requesting the response, we lift them up unto the Lord. Church open today, it says, by the porch, which is a good sign, good thing. It's normally open till about 3 o'clock, a bit later in the summer, because it stays lighter longer in the summer. Nice spire there. As the name suggests, of course, this is in the Wolds. The Wolds being this hilly part of Leicestershire. Belvoir Castle on the edge of it. You can see the bell there. This lovely thatched pub, like a nice thatched roof. And here we are around at the west end. One of the great things, of course, about these cruciform churches is it means that you have this really grand west end, because you don't have to have a great chunk of the west end occupied by a tower. It can just have this massive great window, and unlike Croxton Kerrial, of course, here they carry the window up into the clerestory, just dominating everything. Is that amazing? And there's the front there. The north side, the road is very close by, but we are right in the middle of the village here. It's always nice to be right in the middle of the village. And I'm not sure where Henry Twells' rectory was, but it's around somewhere. And here we are. You can see a little bit of that nice iron stone, but the stone here has given way to a different material, and this local honey-coloured material. And here we have a nice block north doorway. Buttress. This, of course, is the vestry, very important, and it has a chimney, and it would have had a little it has a fireplace in it, and the door has a very helpful date, 1838, so we know that's when it was added. It's nice when they leave dates on things. And the lich gate. These are almost always Victorian lich gates, because as you can see they're made of wood. Wood decays, and neglect meant that many of them had to be taken down, but the Victorians like to bring them back. So that is the church here at Waltham on the Wolds. There we are, this nice big graveyard. And so there we go, Waltham on the Wolds. Well, 'tis not yet evening, but evening cometh apace, and with the coming of evening the need to get home and the need for rest. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.